absolute favorite things to do is get lost in a good thriller. I'm talking about those edge of your seat, stay up way too late, page turning kind of stories. There's something about the suspense and not knowing what's coming next that completely pulls me in. For me, reading isn't just entertaining, it's grounding. It challenges your thinking, expands your perspective, and sometimes getting wrapped up in the literary world simply gives you the perfect escape from the noise of everyday life. It's the love of stories that draws me to one of my most treasured places. This is a bookstore and book bug. Located in Kalamazoo, this place is pure magic. It's warm, welcoming, and filled with a real sense of community. I've spent hours there discovering books I didn't even know I needed. It's the kind of place where you might bump into a friend, get an amazing recommendation from someone on staff, and somehow walk out with a stack of books you didn't plan to buy with many reasons to come back soon. Shopping there is nothing like buying from a big online retailer. When you support This is a Bookstore and Book Bug, you're investing in something real, local, and personal. You're part of keeping independent bookstores alive, and that matters. The best part, you don't have to live in Kalamazoo to experience it. You can order online at bookbugkalamazoo.com or call them at 269-385-2847. If you're ordering for a school, they're fantastic at tracking down hard-to-find titles and can help build a classroom library tailored to your students or subject. And if you're placing a large order, whether it's one title or multiple, ask for Book Bug Bulk to receive a discount. I guarantee you'll enjoy your visit to This is a Bookstore and Book Bug. And when you do, be sure to tell them who sent you. Now, on with the show.
This is the summer school series of Lessons We Forgot. This episode was based on a Latin phrase that I've really grown to love and that I've embraced as a key element of lasting happiness. However, like so many things in life, the opposite of that phrase is also true. Memento vivere means remember to live. It teaches us to appreciate all that we have right here in the present, to live our lives fully, and to find meaning in what we're engaged in right now, rather than getting lost in the thoughts of our own mortality. I also heard another version of this while watching a zombie movie this year. I know not really the place you'd expect to find words of wisdom. In it, though, I was taught the meaning of the phrase memento amoris, or remember to love. This is something that can easily slip one's mind, not only while watching zombies stalk their prey, but also anytime we fail to acknowledge all of the people who are meaningful in our lives. Remembering to live or love doesn't mean that we shouldn't consider the future, or our legacies, or all the other lessons we learned from long-dead Roman philosophers. But by injecting a little mindfulness, memento vivere and memento amoris, we can balance our desire to optimize our time on Earth for ourselves and the people around us with our desire to optimize the moments we're living in right now and to appreciate the people we get to share them with. This is the summer series of Lessons We Forgot, and this episode is called Memento Mori.
We've got so many things to remember most days, from packing lunches to posting in Google Classroom, to finding the required amount of caffeine. We have a lot of things to do early in the morning before we even leave our homes. It can seem like a whirlwind. Then, once we're in our classrooms, we need to make sure everything is ready to go for all of our lessons and activities for the day, because we sure won't have any time once the bell rings. And for some of you, remembering to set your alarms is the most important thing to remember so you don't forget to do anything else during the day. Are we having a meeting this week? How long until June? Did I just miss a colleague's birthday? Sometimes it's hard to even remember what day it is. On a larger scale, we've been given instructions about how to teach our classes, what topics to avoid, how our classrooms should be physically laid out, and what behaviors to look for in the halls. We need to remember to use reward tickets, fill out those hall passes, and monitor everything our students are doing online. And don't forget to answer emails in a timely fashion and to provide feedback to our students. Plus, there are unique academic or behavior plans for a dozen kids that you better not forget. And of course, this is not an exhaustive list of everything we need to remember. I'm sure I forgot to remember something. With all this running around trying to remember to do everything on our lists, like did we remember to make a list, it's easy for us to let some things slip through the cracks and to lose sight of our priorities. One thing we often forget is our own mortality. I know that sounds absurdly morbid for a podcast based on spreading positivity, but for the ancient Romans, remembering that all of us will eventually die was actually a way to help them live life to the fullest. Memento mori was a common phrase that they would tell each other and to remind themselves. The literal translation is something like remember death, but the vibe is much more like remember that you will die. They would use images like skulls and skeletons, situated in very conspicuous places, as less than subtle reminders to prioritize the important things in life. In a series of personal writings now known as meditations, Roman emperor, Stoic philosopher, and frequent guest on the podcast, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." The Romans wanted to make every moment count, whether it was spent working, celebrating, or vanquishing enemies on the battlefield. So while it might initially come off as pretty dark, Memento Mori is really just a reminder to use your limited time in the way that makes the most sense to you, whatever that might be. When I consider Memento Mori, and I do way more often than you might think, I imagine the much older version of me looking back on the current me. I try to predict if the me in the future will be happy with what I'm doing right now. Will I wish I had used my limited time more productively? Or will I wish that I had taken a little more time for myself? Or maybe I'd wish that I would have already started a project that I've been thinking about for a while. Will I wish I would have handled the situation differently or called someone out for their bad behavior? On the other hand, should I have given someone a little more grace, especially if that person is me? Will what I'm doing right now and maybe pouring my heart into make the 80-year-old me proud of what I'm doing? Will I regret spending the time and energy on the thing I'm currently working on? Or will it even be significant enough to remember it all? In the end, I have no idea what future me will think of the current me. But I do know when I look back at the younger versions of myself, I rarely regret when I tried something new. I think back fondly on times when I made new friends, experienced something for the first time, or opened my mind to new possibilities. At school, I almost never regret helping a colleague. I'm usually happy I injected a reasonable amount of fun into my lessons, and I've never wished I didn't get to know a student a little better. Whether it is your first year teaching or your last year in the profession, or if you're somewhere in between, remembering that nothing lasts forever is a great way to look towards the future while still being totally focused on what is most important to you today. So, Memento Mori. Remember, you will die. Let that determine what you do and say and think today.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Lessons We Forgot. I'm the host, Chris Winkle. You can contact me at lessonsweforgot@gmail.com, and you can follow the show or message Lessons We Forgot on Facebook. Either way, I'd love to hear from you and welcome you to our community. If you really enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with a friend. That is the best way to help grow the podcast. If you want to hear more Lessons We Forgot, I post new episodes on Sunday nights. Make sure you subscribe to follow the show on whatever podcast platform you use. And when you rate the show, like an episode, or leave a comment, we can reach even more listeners. If you hate ads just like me, I do have a Patreon site, patreon.com/lessonsweforgot, and for only $1 a month, you can get the show without ads. You can try that out right now for free to see if it's something you'd be interested in. Thanks again for your support.